This is the first part in a multi-part series on dealing with forms in Django. Forms are almost vital for us because it is our interaction with our users. Django has one of the best form frameworks that I've ever seen in all the different frameworks I've tried. To me, it exemplifies almost what you should do with forms. The next few videos in our series, we're actually going to try to hit as many of the different things that you can do with forms in Django, and there's a lot to cover. For this first video, however, we're not going to use any of the pre-built Django form stuff. We're going to use what I like to call raw forms. If you've ever done PHP, we're going to interact very similar to how you do in PHP, just to kind of start with some of the more basics of how things work in the background. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding essentially a contact form to our blog application that we've been working on. So to do that, we're just going to create our contact application. Now we have our contact application. Let's go ahead and add a URL real quick, since that's not going to be too difficult. So next, let's actually get to the meat of what we're doing. Let's go ahead and create our view for our contact form. First thing we need to do is a couple of imports. Next, to create our function. So now let's actually do a little bit of explanation. We set up the URL in our URLs file to go to the /contact URL. What that is going to take care of is any of our gets and our puts and our posts and our deletes. Anything that's an HTTP verb will go to that URL, and so we handle that in our contact function here. So to do that real quick, we're going to do if request dot method is equal to post. So basically, if it's a post, if it's a post verb, if it's an HTTP post, then it's going to do whatever it does there. So we should do a real quick print hello. And so now if we do a post there, it's going to actually just print out hello to the command line. And then for everything else, we want to print world for the moment. Okay, so now that we have that done, and you kind of understand what's going to happen whenever you do a post and a get to that URL, because when you do a get, it's going to follow that else. The thing that we need to do next is we need to actually return a page that's going to have our contact form. So we're just going to do return So basically, this uses some Django shortcuts to do several things for us. But one of the more important things to realize is we're sending a request context for our context instance. What that's going to do is that's going to send a CSRF token to our template so that we can do cross-site forgery request prevention. And that's actually very important, and unless you do something like CSRF exempt, you're going to have to deal with the CSRF token. I'm just going to go ahead and fill in a couple of more things real quick, and then we'll move on to our template. The next thing that we want to handle is our actual data that is posted to our view function here. And to do that, we need to actually grab the data from our request object that is sent. And that's actually very similar in some respects to PHP. To get that data, we just do a request dot post, all caps, and then the name of whatever it is that we've posted to our function. In this case, we're going to do a request.post and get the name, and then we're going to do a request.post and get the message. And then instead of actually handling all this to do an email, we're just simply going to print that out to the console for now. So what should happen is when we post to our function, it will see that it's a post, it will grab the information, print it out to the console. At some other point we can actually get the information to send an email. Then it sets message to thank you for your feedback. It re-renders the contact page, and everything should be good. So now that we have that done, let's actually look at creating our template. We're going to simply create a contact HTML page. I'm going to go ahead and fill in some of our template basic stuff. First things first, let's actually create our form. So we create our form element. Set that to the contact URL. Going to use the post method. And here we are going to set our CSRF token. And the neat thing is this is built into Django itself. And all you need to know is how to use it. And that's basically using that request context and setting it here in this form, and you're done. Let's go ahead and create our two input elements, or three, I guess, if we can include the submit button. And create a text area. And then our submit button. And there we go. When we post to our contact URL, it's going to hit that view that we created a few minutes ago. It's going to take the name and the message, display them out to the command line, and then it will just return us back here. And the only final thing that we have left to do is display our message. That's going to be super simple. And there we go. So again, as a recap, we're going to hit the contact URL, It's going to see that it's a GET request. It's going to grab this contact page and show it. We're going to fill out information. We're going to hit submit. It's going to post to that same URL that we went to. In that view function, we're actually going to see that, hey, it did a post, and then it's going to run through all of its steps and then pull out a message and display that back to the same page again. This is very, very basic raw forms and how you deal with forms in many different languages, but this kind of gives you an idea of how some of the basics work in Django. So now that we've done all this, let's go ahead and actually test it. Alright, so let's just switch over to our browser real quick. As you can tell, we already have the home page open real quick. So let's go ahead and go to our contact page. And there we go. Just type in Buddy Lindsay for our name. So there we have. So we're putting our name, we're doing our message, and then we're going to go ahead and submit that feedback. And notice we have thank you for your feedback. These are cleared out. We're back at our contact page. Go back over to our command line and look, Buddy Lindsay, keep up the good work. So those got posted out to the command line very well. We have 200s and we're good to go. So I just want to reiterate for this video, we have kept it very basic, very light, and just kind of hit on a few of the things to know about on some of the things with forms. Specifically, I wanted to show you the basic of doing posts and how to get that data, and then the basic of how to do the CSRF token, because unless you actually know how that works, specifically the request context and how that can handle the CSRF token on the front end, then it can be kind of painful to know what's going on. There are other ways to handle the CSRF token, and we will get to those in future videos. So please join us next time as we jump into part 2 of forms. And that's when we'll actually get into some of the really neat stuff that I like with doing forms with Django. Also, please feel free to visit GoDjango.com and subscribe to our RSS feed. Feel free to like the Facebook page. I'm going to post polls to see what people would like to see content-wise. I just want to thank you for watching this episode of the GoDjango screencast. Thank you and have a great day.